I mean, I haven't I haven't slept for weeks now. It's really hard to go to sleep while tens of thousands of duckies are yelling at you, and I just wake up like a couple of times every night, just like with night terrors.
Night
So there's
terrors.
yeah, it's stressful. It's stressful, but it's definitely fun. It's definitely fun. But yeah, sleep is not something I get a lot of right now.
No, unfortunately, but also fortunately, because we love it. This space is 24/7, 365. The market never sleeps. The project, um, the sales keep coming in, the mints keep coming in, and y'all are in a really advantageous position. And it's an exciting time because your launch is, correct me if I'm wrong, March 1st, and
Yeah,
it's going to be a
13 days
party.
from now. 13 days from now. It's insane. So soon. So soon.
I love that. And I know you guys are pressed for time, so we're gonna try to keep it under an hour, unlike our chat with the treasure team, which was 2.5. So I think we could do that, right, Jacob?
Yeah, we'll make it work. We're going into this with a plan, so let's stick to it. And yeah, who knew throwing a party could be so stressful? But we'll try to ease some of that stress up for you today.
Let's go. And everyone tuning in, thank you for sharing your what day is it in the metaverse? Your Wednesdays with us. We have got Rubber Duck Bath Party in the house. Our one of our newest partners. Basically, how I don't know if Vishal, if you know this, but um, your Twitter account actually, the art of the duck, it came up in my recommended, and I took a look, saw the art, bit hard, sent the DM, slid in the good old fashioned way, just like mom and dad used to make, and here we are. You took a meeting with us, explained the whole entire vision of Rubber Duck Bath Party, and we wanted to extend this our platform at Metaverse HQ with you today to share exactly what Rubber Duck Bath Party is, and who's behind it, and what the plans are for the future. So maybe we could start by um, introducing yourself and getting down to the logistics of Rubber Duck Bath Party, just to give everyone an idea as to what it is, and we can go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'm Yishai. Nice to meet you all. Yeah, to be honest, most of the growth of Rubber Duck Bath Party really happened that way. Just people sliding into my DMs, and getting to know the project like that, and just taking lots of meetings, talking a lot about what we are actually, who we are, and what we are planning to do. So yeah, let me give you a bit of background. I'm Yishai. I am, kind of like I would say, pretty standard tech background. Web two though, Web three is pretty new for me. So worked in Web two for the last 12 years, both in startups which I founded, but also in larger corporations. My last position was at Palantir, which is like a really big AI and big data company, where I led product departments. Yeah, basically, um, my background is in tech. The background of most of us in the team is really, tech user experience. So I think you really see that back in the experience of Rubber Duck, both in the website and the care we sort of like take in building, really delightful digital experiences. But anyway, I'm digressing. Let's talk about the Rubber Ducks. Rubber Ducks is a collection of 10,000 rubber ducks, hand drawn by Gal Shears, like an amazing artist. And ducks, are a bit naughty and they love to party. We organize parties, which are digital events, about every four to 6 weeks, whenever the vibe is right. And just like any other party in real life, you never really come back the same, right? Like if you party hard, you might lose stuff, or you might come back with something new. And that's exactly what happens with your duck at a bath party. So you might lose a trait, you might swap a trait, you might gain a trait, but your doc and your NFT is essentially changing after each or during each party. which means that you get a new PFP or you get a new, NFT every single month, which is a really exciting new concept, right? It's like sort of the concept of evolution and change and sort of dynamic art, which I think is pretty new in the space, and we're really excited to sort of like experiment and build out, this new direction for NFTs. So yeah, that's like Rubber Duck Bath Party. We had our first tweet on December 15th, so we're about 2 months out there. And like just like you mentioned, we really pride ourselves with sort of like growing organically. I think we understood really early on that the only way to truly make it, especially with like a concept which is not really standard, is to build up a community of people who really love what we are doing and would go through fire to sort of like go party with us. And that's really has been our approach from day one. We just had really, you know have been really bullish about not taking any shortcuts. Like literally, like our motto was like, we have to bring in collectors one by one, and that's what we have been doing. And now, especially over the last couple of weeks, the growth has been insane. But because our community has been built up so carefully, we are really happy with sort of like the vibe we have, and just the energy is just like incredibly insane. So yeah, this is a bit about bath parties, duckies, and our really intense and crazy and amazing community.
Uh, oh no, I absolutely love the concept. I think it's so cool, especially how organic, everything has been and feels, like you're throwing together a real party with your group of friends and it's kind of spreading through different parties. But uh, yeah, how did you come up with such a unique concept? First of all, it's incredibly nerve wracking. If you haven't try it out on the site, because you'll see the ducks change pretty drastically. And I really like the mechanic because it kind of incentivizes you to hold a little bit, or at least I think it'd be very hard for me to get rid of my last duck when I know, there could be a couple parties coming up that can change everything about what I have. If I get a floor duck or something that I'm not vibing with originally, like there's so many chances to change that and go to specific parties. So did that idea come first, or was it more focused around the ducks first, or how did that kind of vision all come together?
Yeah, it really, I would say the ducks actually, the art came first, right? Like, Gal sort of like came to me one day and sort of like said, look at what I made, and he showed me sort of like early sketches of the ducks. And like for people who haven't been following Gal or only recently have uh, been introduced to his art, like he's this person who has a pretty sizable following on social and has been really for like a decade or more, basically been publishing his art online, both on Instagram and YouTube, and of course also Twitter. And his art is like very sort of like, I would say, digital native and super playful and optimistic, and it really sort of like brings life to characters and to sort of like stuff that is usually flat online. And what the first thing that really captured me in the Rubber Ducks was that, right? It's like, it's just fun, right? Like really, even from the early sketches, the vibe that the ducks still have today when you look at them, right? It's like, it's really just the same. So like, I think Gal immediately understood that this was really good, and I also did. And sort of like the other thing is, we really love a couple of collections, like for instance, Cool Cats and Doodles. And I think that Gal was really exploring sort of like, how do you create a perfect PFP, right? Like, how do you help people sort of like build up this perfect identity that is, represents, maybe your fun side, and your party side, but something that just works as a PFP, right? Like that was like first and foremost sort of like the goal. And so the art absolutely came first, and that has been sort of like the first thing. The moment we understood that there is just like something amazing here and something we wanted to share, I think that's when we start to think about think about the question that actually led us to bath parties. And the question really was, how do you build a community for the long term, and how do you keep people interested in your art and interested in what you're building, right? Like the project, or maybe the word brand you can use there as well, though that feels a bit cheap, right? Because in the end, we're talking about art first. So it's like, how do you keep people really interested in the long term? And for Gal, it was really important to do that without sort of like the challenge he gave us, or like the challenge he gave us all as a group, and also himself. Obviously was like, how can we create something that is going to engage people and interest people for the long term, but it needs to be integrated in the art, right? Like, it can't be like some random roadmap where we say, we're going to airdrop ETH to holders, or I don't know, and everything that like has nothing to do with the art. So we really wanted to find a way where we engage people on the art itself. So that's basically how we thought about bath parties, because it really allows us to constantly keep on creating new things. To your art never changes, right? So it's also just really fun, because you don't have to just sit with your same artwork or your same PFP for years. It changes just like you do in real life, and just like you change out your physical appearance, right? Like you buy new clothes. It's sort of like the same. The idea really is that your duck grows with you, and the change is really sort of like something that, I don't know, is part of your change, and that's actually something that is exciting, right? Like the whole idea that you get something new all the time, even if it might become sort of like quote unquote less rare. Just the fact that it changes is something that's like really exciting, and I think it sort of like all came together as we were like better sort of like understanding what you can do with NFTs, how Solidity works, what you can do with the dynamic aspects. I think sort of like the art, the question of like, how do you build long-term engagement with a group of collectors, and sort of like the understanding of like, what can we really do with this tech that is maybe a bit more interesting or more rich. I think those three things came together, and we magically ended up on bath parties, which is like an insane idea, and I think it's like totally nuts that this is now a real thing, and it's just like fun and crazy, and people are obviously drawn to it, interested in it. It captures their imagination just like it did for us, and that's always like really fun to see, because when you're just like sitting with three, four people in in a coffee shop chatting about this, it's always like scary to sort of like see what happens in the real world and how the real world responds to it. But yeah, as you can see on our Twitter and in our Discord, the real world really loves it, which is like just yeah, a dream.
Yeah, this is a really interesting concept. Like, I'm thinking about it now because uh it is like you could end up with an NFT, a Rubber Duck Bath Party NFT that is like essentially like less rare than when you came into the party, right? So uh these parties, couple of questions. So is this like an on-chain event? How will like users, like, let's just say I'm able, and I'm lucky enough to mint like 10 or 20 of my Rubber Duck Bath Party NFTs, and I want to only send like 5 of them to the party. Is that, am I going to have to pay gas to send 5 in? Is it simply just sort of like an indifferent ducks when you hatch an egg? It's not on chain, and it's no cost to me to create it. How will like the mechanics of it work?
Yeah, so the mechanics are actually pretty straightforward. When you go to a party, so the event, like, the art itself, right, or sort of like, if we talk about like how most NFTs work, they basically point to metadata which sits either on IPFS or on sort of like a regular server. What happens during a best party is that we basically verify you're the owner, which is actually a gasless transaction. So we essentially verify that you're owner of a certain duck, and then right after the party, right, like when the change happens, we essentially update that metadata, but we update the metadata essentially in two places. Both because we want to be able to do an instant reveal, we host the data on sort of like a more traditional server, and because of that, we can essentially do a gasless change, which is also basically revealed instantly. And then at the end of the party, parties are basically, you can choose as a collector to go to a party during a time frame of 24 hours because we have a very international audience, so we want to make sure everyone has, really the time to attend the party. So during those 24 hours, you can go to a party, and once the change happens, it's being changed on sort of like our server. At the end of the party, so at the end of the 24 hours, we change the IPFS, right, which is sort of like the decentralized sort of like database, and that's like sort of like, it is an on-chain event, but we pay for it. It's sort of like a one-time event. So then after the party, we change it, and then the metadata is also sort of like in a decentralized manner updated. Sorry, this is like a bit technical, but essentially what's happening is your data is in two places, which is an approach that is sort of like you get the best of both worlds. We can give you a really good user experience, but still give you the sort of like guarantee that no matter what happens to us, your NFT is going to be fine because it's sort of like the data is stored in a decentralized manner. You also asked something about rarity, which I think is like a really interesting question. So let me actually address that. So first of all, the choice is absolutely yours, right? So like as a duck parent or collector, right? Like you get to decide what happens to your ducky. So you get to decide if you're going to be like a horrible, sort of like a parent that is like doesn't make you let the ducky party, or if you just like chill, more hippie style, and let them make their own mistakes. So it's like in the end your decision to party or not to party. But in general, because we really want to incentivize partying, like partying is, I think, first of all, just like a core part of our culture, right? Like it's like already now, before mint even, like part of our culture is like going to parties. And also for us, obviously people going to parties means that people engage with the art and sort of like have a new experience, and a deeper sort of like relationship with the art. So it's really important actually for us that people go to parties or decide to go to parties. So we definitely are building in incentives for people to party. So a couple of things to think about there, or like incentives why people should go to parties, although they might drop in rarity, is essentially things like we encode the number of parties you go to in the metadata, and future access to very exclusive parties. So let's say we throw a super exclusive party together with Bored Apes. This is not alpha, right? This is just me dreaming. But let's say we throw a really exclusive party with Bored Apes. We might say that only duckies who went to 9 out of 10 parties are going to be invited. So and let's say during that Bored Ape party you can get a super rare trait, which is probably worth, is sort of like one on one, 1 out of 1 level, so it might be really worth for you to come show up. I think that's like sort of like first incentive. Another thing is, and this is a really early concept, so yeah, we're not promising anything. Is sort of like also as a team without a roadmap. So this is just a concept we're toying around. We really like the idea of something we call party to earn, which is essentially sort of like a play on play to earn, but sort of like the idea of um, offsetting the potential rarity loss with getting some kind of token, and really you know giving people something for partying hard. And sort of the idea there is maybe even to the harder you party, the more wild you go, the more you might sort of like earn. So that's sort of like another idea we have. And then sort of like, I think, third of all, we the parties themselves are going to be really exciting digital experiences which you just don't want to miss out. So like the party will be just something really fun, right? Like a fun thing you want to experience, like as a collector you want to see what's happening there. So there's obviously also like the FOMO and just like the experience that you want to you want to go through. So I think it's like a combination of all these things. In general though, if you look at sort of like we run a bunch of simulations that basically help us understand what happens if people go to parties, and if certain ducks do go to parties and certain don't. And in general, there is upward pressure for floor ducks. So like if you're like a duck which is like with a low rarity, if you go to parties, there's upward pressure, so you're more likely to for your rarity to go up. But if you are sort of like a top ranked duck, and you don't party because you're afraid to lose, rare traits, there's actually a downward pressure. So what you see happening if after 5 6 parties is that they're slowly starting to lose they're slowly starting to drop in the ranking, and the reason for that is that there's sort of like a dilution happening of their traits, right? So let's say at mint you get this very rare head. After 3 4 parties, if others are getting that very rare head, your head obviously is less rare, and your ranking will obviously drop. So there is some kind of pressure. Even if you decide to sit out some parties, at some point you might be incentivized to come join parties again. Again, this is all like, it's really hard to predict how people are going to play this game and how people are going to engage with the art, and so like this is just like simulations that we run with some kind of like assumptions. I think we are going to be like super surprised by reality and what people are really doing, and sort of the strategies people have and how people are playing, and how people are partying. So we are, I think, just like all of you, we're all just going to be surprised by sort of like seeing what happens at parties. Actually, we are already planning the first party, which is going to be on March 20, which is like very, very soon after, Mint, which is on March 1st. So yeah, we're already sort of like working on the first party, which is going to be loads of fun.
Let's go. Yeah, I really love the partying concept, and thank you for breaking that down from a logistics standpoint. I'm quite the I'm not like a super, super hard techie. I'm not like reading through contract and trying to find hex codes and whatnot, but I do understand the mechanics. I like to get involved. I think this sort of type of like the party mechanic where you can enlist your rubber ducky to go and party, and potentially receive a rare trait, or potentially receive one that's it's not so rare. It's very much the ethos of the NFT space, because at the end of the day, at heart, we're basically all sort of like, we have that gambling mentality, right? It's about how much risk you can, yeah, you can withhold, you can stand, and sort of like hitting that reroll on the party is really interesting. But I think even more so, the sort of like natural engagement, this organic engagement that this mechanism brings to the table is really cool, because it just gives you a reason to keep tuning in with Rubber Duck Bath Party, with all of the projects coming on like left and right, the supply in the market just increasing, even being a little bit more unique in the sense will go a long way. I think too, you guys have a really big opening. Like you might have mentioned Board Ape Yacht Club, and maybe you're just wishing it into fruition. But you have a lot of great collaboration opportunities. Who's to say that perhaps like you don't host a party with, I don't know, like Disclosure, like maybe one of my like other favorite artists, and there's like a special trait that you can only potentially try to receive at this party. You could potentially, create a duck that's so rare that, no one else has this, like, even close to this variation of traits. I'm curious what you think about on that note, right? So maybe 1, 2, 3, 10, maybe a year worth of parties. What does it mean when all the variation continues to increase, where every like Rubber Duck Bath Party NFT is considered rare, so none of them are rare? Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting question. We are obviously sort of like thinking about that. The the way the parties are designed are, I would really think of it as less of maybe a revolution, but more of an evolution, right? So it's very uncommon for ducks to jump from the floor to the top in a single party. And I think sort of like that change will be gradual. Obviously, there will be very lucky ducks where that happens for them. So like in general, I think we are in the way the parties are designed. You're not going to see like these really extreme changes. So we are a little less concerned about that. And then obviously for each and every party, like I think especially this is just like another thing that Gal really cares about. He really is, you know, super. When he sort of like looks at the art, he's like obviously working on ensuring that each and every duck looks amazing, but he's also really I would almost say designing the entire collection as a whole and the aesthetics of the full collection. And the way we are thinking about parties is to ensure that, you know, sort of like the aesthetics of the collection is still as a whole is still great. So we will be really careful with, you know, not creating like this insane, you know, like this super crowded insane sort of like look and feel. And then obviously ducks don't only game during parties, right? So like in essence, like I think you will just mostly see ducks swapping places, but you won't see sort of like these like super crowded artwork. So you know we are going to like be really careful about ensuring that the aesthetics stay really nice. And then again, like sort of like when we talk about collabs and bringing in really you know really rare traits, also those we will be, you know, really careful to make sure that it's still tasteful and that it still sort of like doesn't sort of like dilute the value of the rest of the collection. So I think we're going to be yeah, just tread really carefully around ensuring that the entire collection stays aesthetically pleasing and is still the art that we want it to be. I think also on the concept of collaborations, that is actually one of the things that excites me the most about this project. One of the things I think that is really important when we are looking at the market is opposed to sort of like the world I come from, which is, you know, Web 2, it's a winner takes all market, right? Like every single tech company is trying to take the whole market share, right? Like that's really how it's designed. That's why you see so much, you know, venture capital pumping money into the market because, you know, just having that small chance to take 80% of a market is, you know, just worth it. And I think the difference in Web3, because, you know, the data is no longer owned by projects or companies, but it's, you know, they're in a decentralized manner. I think what you're seeing is a world where collaboration is incredibly important because it's no longer a world where a winner takes all, right? It's like it's essentially a world where the ones who are, you know, best capable to collaborate are going to win. And it's really about sort of like enabling collaboration between projects because you know like I think duck collectors are never going to be just duck collectors, right? Like the part of their, you know, I would say their taste or things they're collecting are always sort of like we are just part of that. And I think like the better we understand their world and we understand like what else, you know, what else interest duck collectors, the better we can sort of like build a platform. And one of the ways we're thinking about collaboration is actually also through bath parties like you mentioned. And there's sort of like two ways we're thinking about it right now, and I think we will find out as we go along many more ways we can do this. But obviously there's sort of like the really straightforward collaboration where we say we are throwing a metaverse HQ bath party, and it's, you know, there's a specific trade you can win which is you know metaverse inspired. And and the party, you know, of course, like the digital experience and the music is going to be just like really themed around sort of like that collaboration. And I think that's like one type of collaboration that we think is really exciting and we want to explore. There's now also sort of like another type of collaboration we find really interesting, which is actually longer term. And the way we're thinking about that collaboration or those type of collaboration is actually sort of like the following. Let me pitch it to you. So essentially, how it works is that we want to incentivize not only collectors that are holding ducks for the long term, but there's also other collections that we really care about. So, for instance, Gal's OG collection, which is like super boutique called Slime's World, is a collection we really care about. And we want to encourage long-term holding of that collection. So one of the ideas we have is that there is a slime themed trade, which is pretty rare, and holders, long-term holders of slimes will be able, they have a higher chance of getting that like tattoo in this case during bath parties. And the longer they are holders of slimes, the higher that chance is. And our plan really is to build more of those, right? So sort of like there's other collections that we really, really like. Like for instance, we have a Cool Cat trade. This is not like an official collab or anything, but like we just really, really like Cool Cats. Specifically, Gal is like obsessed with Clone and really likes his art. And so like we have a Cool Cat trade, and we are playing around with the idea of like, hey, what if we just tell our collectors that if you have a Cool Cat and you come to a bath party, you're more likely to get this trade. And the longer you hold your cat, the more likely you are to get it as well, right? So suddenly bath parties aren't only about ducks anymore, right? Like bath parties, like we suddenly have this mechanism that is going to incentivize and encourage long-term art collectors, which is like a beautiful thing, right? Because like this is like truly like Wagmi, right? Like it's like we are all gonna make it. Like it's really not just only about the ducks anymore. It's about like all these other collections that we like, that have communities that we really, that inspire us, that have artists that make us feel shit. And suddenly we have a tool that enables, that can help them, right? Like it's and I think the really awesome things about dynamic NFTs, and I think specifically about how we design bath parties, is that it allows us to do all these things. And then obviously like lots of these things are sort of like in the conceptual stage, and given that bath parties we haven't thrown even one yet, right? Like it's like a super new concept. I think we're going to sort of like develop them over time, see what sticks, see what works, see what people like or dislike, and sort of like make plenty of mistakes along the way. But I think just the fact that we have created sort of like this platform that allows us to experiment and explore what we can do, and not just with ducks but also with the broader NFT space, and or even like Web3 space, is a really exciting thing. And that's also the thing I like a lot about sort of like the ducks, right? I really see it as a platform for us to sort of like have full creative freedom, both as a team, but also as a community, and as sort of like the broader ecosystem we are part of. Like literally, the sky is the limit. Everything is possible, and I think it just like opens up, yeah, all kinds of new concepts that some of them we're already thinking about, and I think the vast majority, or the best concepts, we haven't even thought about yet.
That's amazing. I love how much thought you guys have put into this concept, and kind of how intricate it is, just to throw a party. And I'm excited to learn more about, I guess, what the requirements are for your first party, and how we can make sure we attend, and what that looks like. And but before maybe we get into that, maybe we could get Gal up on the stage. Are they interested in talking and sharing a little bit more about their background and the art?
I'm not sure if he's in a place he can talk now, but let me ping him, and maybe for the next question he can maybe come up.
Yeah, sounds good. Make sure he's on mobile as well, because if he's on desktop, he won't be able to join.
Yeah, maybe that's what's happening.
But yeah, I'd love to hear more. If I want to go to this first party, you said it looks like a couple of weeks after launch. How do I get in? What are my chances? And how many ducks am I going to get to meet there?
Yeah. So first of all, during mint, we are actually capping the mint amount to two, so people can mint only two ducks. So depending how much you will be buying on secondary, you'll probably come to the party with two ducks. And there's no requirement, right? Like the only requirement for bath parties is to have a duck, and that's all you need. the party itself, like we actually lots of people are asking about what is the party going to look like? Can you describe it to us? And we actually refuse to do that. It's really one of the things that we really want to keep a surprise. We really want to sort of like keep every single party a surprise. Like we want you to just come and experience the thing, and really, give us a chance to surprise you. And I think that's really part of sort of like our building philosophy, or how we think about this project in general, right? It's like we really don't want to tell people upfront what to expect here. I think like part of the art you're buying into is essentially like this, right? Sort of like this creative digital experiences that are going to be a surprise. There's a couple of things we guarantee, right? Like around parties. So we guarantee that if you own a dock, you have the right to attend unless there are exclusive parties, which, in that case, you need to be a hardcore party dock. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we promise that will happen is your duck will change. So your duck will come back from the party, different. And that's basically all we promise. I think everything besides that is sort of like going to be a surprise. And I think on March 20 you will all find out what a party looks like. And then the next party might be entirely different. And I think that's sort of like the beauty of the best parties. It really allows us to reinvent them each and every time. So for instance, one party might be a really artistic or a video experience, and the next party might be more of a game, right? So like, you can think of a party being a sort of like game theory style thing, where you actually go into the party with another duck and you both have to get to a decision, and the decision you take together is going to influence what happens to your ducks. Or parties could be parties could be something social that have to do with sort of like, getting to know another duck better, or you might actually swap a trait with someone else. And I think there's like really each and every time the experience of the bath party might be totally different. And I think this is not only uh, when it comes to sort of like the digital experience, it's also like one of the reasons that one of the team members is this amazing musician and a music producer. His name is Raphael Frost, and he's actually producing an original track for each party. So like each party will have an original track. Like we actually have already produced a track which is called Rubber Ducky Bath Party, which you can listen to on the Spotify and Apple Music and every other streaming platform. And the idea really is that like each and every party we will produce new original music, and that really sort of like captures the vibe of the party. And I think that will be exactly the same for the digital experience and like the actual sort of like gameplay, or like what happens at the party, the mechanics of the parties, and sometimes maybe even sort of like how extreme a party can be, right? It's like, I think the default is that one trade changes, but there might be parties that are really hardcore where two trades might change. We have a higher chance of getting something really rare, but also a higher chance of losing something. And I think we will keep on reinventing parties as we go along. And I think one of the things that is going to influence what parties look like is in the end really going to be the community, right? It's like, what do people like? What are they craving? Do they need to have a laugh, or do they need to feel love? Like, it's, I think, really about what we feel or how we are interpreting sort of like the vibe of the community, which is also just going to influence the parties. And then again, just like I said before, right? It's, this concept is so new. I think to the world of NFTs, to us as a team, we are just going, like, our mindset going into this is just really one of sort of like trying to, like, we are here to sort of like learn, and see what works and what doesn't work, and we will just be uh, optimizing as we go, and sort of like making them more and more fun and more high quality and more rich, as we go along.
That's great. Like I said, I mean, seems like you guys have it thought out. I'm excited for the parties. I want to go to every party I can, even though, who knows what that'll do to my duck. They might get a little warm.
Yeah, I think there's like something interesting about about like for instance, like that fear, right? Like what happens to my duck? Um, it's something that's actually really interesting to me, because I think we're going to see a bit of um, a change in how people view NFTs and view the value of NFTs. And mainly because of sort of like the introduction of dynamic NFTs with Rubber Duck Bath Party, and there's actually a couple of really high profile NFT projects, basically in our cohort, which are sort of like at our sort of like minting sort of like around our time, which are actually, and I think for some this is not published yet, but like there are playing around with similar concepts around like how can we create more dynamic experiences. And one of the things when we talk about ducks, right, like so your duck changes, and I think there's sort of like two ways of viewing it, right? Like there's the old world where rarity is actually all that matters because it's all there is. And I think there's the new world of dynamic NFTs where suddenly your duck has many layers, right? Like each party your duck goes to, there's a new JPEG, there's a new piece of art. And your NFT actually like again, if we talk about the metadata, your metadata actually points to all of these versions, right? So like each and every single version of your duck will be encoded in the metadata and is part of your NFT, and you own that, right? So like actually going to a party adds to your NFT because your NFT becomes richer. It adds a new layer, and I think currently on our website we will obviously show that there will be like a duck page, and on your duck page you can see the entire evolution of your NFT. You'll be able to see like each and every version. You'll be able to see sort of like how it changed over time. And as this is also encoded in the metadata, it means that other applications, like OpenSea, like Floor app, other wallets, they will be able to um, display the data as well. And I think one of the things you will probably see collectors starting to do is not just look at the rarity of the latest version of the art, but actually look at sort of like what kind of life story has this does this duck have, right? Like what kind of like how many versions of of this duck are there, and how interesting is sort of like their evolution, like how much have they partied, like how crazy is their story. And it sounds sort of like weird, but I can tell you, like we did like this run, right? Like where we run simulations of parties. I think I actually showed you all some of them when we went on the Zoom. But essentially, when you look at sort of like the evolution of a duck, it really tells, funnily enough, sort of like a story, right? Like of loss and sometimes of crazy games and wins. And there's sort of like this roller coaster of I don't know, I started at 800, at rank 88,000 and worked my way up to 4,000, or I you made a huge jump but then fell off again, right? Like there's really sort of like a narrative when you look at the history of a duck. And I think when we think of sort of like obviously the appreciation of the art, people will start to look at not just at the rarity of the latest version of your duck, but really at what's the story of this duck? What sort of like narrative is there? And then obviously because you as a collector have been to these parties, right? Like you actually been part of that narrative. You actually first of all, you were the one that made those decisions to party or not to party, and then second of all, you were there during the parties, right? So like you were there when this thing happened to your art. So I think besides sort of like the duck telling a narrative and a story, you also have like an emotional connection to that story, because these pivotal moments in sort of like the history of the duck were moments you were obviously present at. And I think we're going to see a bit of a change at like how people essentially value art and look at NFTs because of sort of like this new layer.
Yeah, I think that's pretty incredible. And that was the question I was actually going to ask next. So you took it right out of my mouth in terms of the legacy and the history of these parties and your duck. And I think, we saw early on with Bored Apes, a lot of people trying to make narratives and stories and personas out of their apes. And I think that you're kind of taking that to the next level with these parties and providing that avenue to actually, have some of that story be on chain and have people have to kind of make stories around what's happening to their ducks at these parties. And I think that's super, super exciting. And we'll definitely, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of different parties coming up with different NFTs after this, with people trying to latch onto that concept and continue to innovate. So thank you for pushing this space forward. And I will say, it looks like we're coming up close to the hour mark. So I'd love to get some questions up on stage. And if Gal still wants to come up, or anyone else from your team, please let us know. But we will start taking requests. If you guys have questions in the audience, make sure to request and we will get you up there. First person we have is Big Biscuits. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Good, good. Wow, this space has just completely blown me away. I am just finding out about the project, and I just can't believe the innovation, the dynamic aspect of an NFT is so incredible. I couldn't help but make the connection to my son loves to play the game Fortnite, right? So Fortnite has these kind of very famous now digital events where you log into their platform and you get to participate in an experience. They've had music concerts and Star Wars preview exclusive reveals and people partying together. And this just, I just am making this connection because really the party is essentially a wide open platform that could be taken in so many different directions. And to me, that's just like super exciting to think about. I mean the duck aspect and the changing traits is wonderful and innovative in itself, but just being able to utilize the party as a platform really for what is to come down the road. And I think that my son was always so excited to be able to log into that digital event and take part of it in person and feel like he was part of a community and connected to the other people who are experiencing that at the same time. And I feel like that you guys are going to tap into that excitement and that emotional connection. And it's just really, really, really exciting to think about. So I consider myself very lucky that I just happenstance had a little bit of time to jump on this spaces and learn about the project. And boy, I mean, it's pretty incredible. So kudos to you guys. And I'm really excited to see what the future holds for the RDBP. So before I step off, I got to actually run to a meeting here at 11, but I'm wondering, is there any opportunity for maybe some of us here in the spaces tonight to have a chance to get into the Discord?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are. I think the best thing to do is to follow us and turn notifications on. We do open up the Discord now and then. Again, I think as I started the space today, community is just really, really important to us, and we want to make sure that we actually can put in the time and get to know people. So we are a bit careful with sort of like opening it up too much, but definitely follow us and turn on notifications, and I think that's like the best way. In 2 weeks after mint, we will probably open up again. And again, about Fortnite, I absolutely agree. I think Fortnite has been such a pioneer in sort of like exploring this space. And one of the things that was just like incredibly important for us when we made the decision to start this project is to sort of like see this as a platform for us to have enormous amount of creative freedom to reinvent things, to do things that are fun for us, to do things that are fun for the community. And I think like the parties are really just just that. It will really allow us to do that. So yeah, I'm happy it resonates with you, and we hope to see you at the first bath party on March 20.
Cheers. That would be awesome. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great question there. And looks like we'll go to Patrick next.
Hi, thanks for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So my question is, with you guys having like 5,000 allocated whitelist spots with 2 mints, it theoretically should sell out before it even have a chance to go to public. Would there be a chance, let's say somebody like sleeps in or they totally forget about minting? Do you guys have a plan if there's, say, like, I don't know, 20 ducks left to possibly like raffle that to the Discord community, or what's the plan with that?
Yeah, so we are going to allocate the full mint to the pregame mint, so to sort of like the allow list mint. But we're pretty sure that there will be, a certain percentage, which is really hard to predict, that won't mint. For whatever reasons, right? People might, lose access, wallet might be compromised, they might forget about it. So there will be definitely I think with my estimations, like more than 20 ducks in public mint. So we are going to, and also like we have made the decision to not oversubscribe because we want to make sure and guarantee that whoever is on the pregame list can mint. So the public mint is really going to be whatever is left over from the pregame mint, which is hopefully enough. There is we are still debating internally how to handle the public mint. Initially, we wanted to just have a general public mint, and that is still how we're viewing this. So like we're still viewing the public mint as, the moment we open it, whoever comes can mint first. But we have seen a bunch of really bad events happening during public mint, so we are rethinking if we actually want to have that version of a public mint, and we might do something similar to what Star Catchers is planning, or what you just proposed, where we would essentially have a public mint which is sort of like raffled out to the Discord, or sort of like to a group of people who are already around but didn't make it to the pregame. But we are really conflicted about the decision, and I think we will hopefully make the final call in the coming days about this.
Awesome. It's just nice to hear like you guys are actually like putting thought into that, because I feel like the NFT space for the last like 2 weeks has been a little bit of a disaster. So the fact that you guys are like consciously thinking about the future like that is awesome. Thanks for answering my question.
No worries. Yeah, I mean, we really like we want, like, we care about sort of the long term of the rubber ducks, right? So like, having a safe mint where people frankly don't get fucked over is just incredibly important for us, because like we've been building up trust and building up community for the last 2.5 3 months, and we want to ensure that the people who just deserve what they have worked for and what they have built up together with us get what they deserve. So like we absolutely put a lot of care in this, and the public mint is something that is just like super conflicting, because it's really the question about, on one hand, in the spirit of Web3 and sort of open free version of it, you want to sort of like just have a real public mint where whoever shows up can mint. But then there obviously is, you're dealing with just bad actors that are probably going to win out from the little guys. So there's this conflict, and that's also what makes this decision for us a bit hard to make.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, great question, Patrick, and props to you, Jishal, for trying to come up with a fair way for everyone there. Let's go to Goody next.
Hello, thank you, gentlemen, for having the space, giving me some downtime at work. I just wanted to say I just got in the Discord 2 days ago, and I'm blown away how good of a community it is in there. Just the tons of great people, because I only tend to invest in projects that are community based. That way it keeps you clear of all the nonsense and flipping and all the things that are detrimental to projects. So I tend to gravitate towards those, and it's a great place to be in here. My one question is, how far out are we, and what may be the concept of our one-of-ones that we'll be getting?
Yeah, there are going to be one-on-ones. So that's the first thing. And I think like the second thing I can share is that they are actually able to party. And so like if you have this super rare one out of ones, you can actually send them to a party without the fear of them, losing their status. So they will change and they will evolve just like every sort of like regular duck. But they won't miss out on the fun. So yeah, what I can share is that there will be very special ducks, and that those ducks, just like any other ducks, can party. Um, I think we are planning to do a reveal of the first, sort of like one out of one doc soon. So that I think might be sort of like in the coming days. Although I have to check that with Gal to sort of see what the planning is for that. But yeah, and again, the distribution of those that happens blind, right? Like just like the distribution of all the other docs. Besides 4 docs, which are the docs which are used as the profile pictures by the 4 team members, which will be actually after consulting with the community, they agreed that we can have those ducks. So like the ducks you see here with Lazy Lizzie, mine, Gal Shears, we will actually mint those, and those will be the first 4 mints, and those are the only 4 that actually get assigned to a specific token. All the other will be done blindly and randomly. So yeah, you might get super lucky and get a really rare duck.
Awesome. So we can confirm a duck party VIP section where the special ones are safe and they could just still be there.
Yes, there will be a VIP section, and they will change, but they will always keep their special status.
And also, like you were saying, with the rarities, and if you're a big party harder, you can actually, that could be a badge you can wear as being somebody that's been to every party. Or what if you have a duck that you never send to a party, keep them pure? Is that something that'll be a benefit?
I don't know, right? Like I think in general the market will decide if that's a benefit or not. It's really hard for us to say. I think that the only thing I can say about this is that we obviously are incentivizing ducks to go to parties. So from sort of like a perspective of um, gameplay, and like from that perspective, it's probably not good to keep your duck home always. But yeah, maybe there are going to be collectors that find it super valuable to have like this virgin duck that has never partied, and they might sort of like value that aspect. It's really hard for me to say.
Awesome. Thank you for taking the time, and thank you to the Metaverse team for taking the time to spend our day together.
Thank you for your time listening in, and thank you for the excellent question. I know we are past the hour mark. Do you have time for one more question?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, Wookie, it's up to you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. My question is, will we have voice chat in the bath party?
in the party itself?
Yes.
Like, I don't know. I actually don't know. I haven't thought about that. But that sounds like a really fun idea, or at least to like try for certain parties. So yeah, not planned, but sounds really fun. It's actually, we don't have a voice chat in our Discord, and it's one of the most requested things. And we are really scared to introduce it because we want to make sure that if we have a voice chat, that it can be sort of like properly moderated. And I think that really, as the community is building, and as we are building up trust with more and more people in the community, I think we can like start doing more of those things. But yeah, I really like the idea of voice chat. I think that's like a fun concept, which yeah, we will definitely experiment with.
Yeah, thank you. That's basically all I had to ask.
Awesome.
Thanks, Wookie. And yeah, I mean, I guess just to tag on to that question to keep you here a little longer. Do you ever plan on doing like IRL parties and things like that, and kind of transitioning that way, or maybe having, metaverse parties in a sandbox or things like that?
Yeah, I'm obviously the first thing people ask us is about sort of like IRL parties, and it's also something that I think is super interesting. We haven't, just as you can imagine, this project has been totally insane. We're absolutely swamped. So like right now, we're just like extremely focused on getting to a safe mint and getting to that first bath party and just building something really awesome for that. But we definitely have played around with some ideas of what an IRL party could look like. Maybe during NFT NYC, it might be a good time for doing something like that. The one thing that we do want to do is if we throw an IRL best party, we want to make sure that your attendance of that IRL party influences somehow the actual sort of like digital bath party, or like has an impact on your dock itself. So we don't want it to be just an IRL party where duckies meet each other, which is obviously really really nice and itself already something very positive. But we do want to sort of like create this connection with the art itself and with the concept of the bath parties as well. So I think if you will see us throw an IRL party, it will be sort of like a mixed experience with the Beth party, which is digital and actually impacts your dock. So yeah, who knows? Maybe going to a party will actually change your PFP, which is also a bit of a weird, crazy idea.
All right, that sounds great. I know that we are out of time, unfortunately. Is there anything that you'd like to leave us with, or some closing remarks?
No, I think this is more or less it. We are really excited to I don't know, keep on welcoming new people into the community, hearing sort of like how the art and concept resonates. Like we are, if you're interested in the duckies, the best thing to do right now, I think, is sort of like do your research, or like go to YouTube. There's a bunch of YouTubers, covering us. Follow us on Twitter. Our mint is going to be on March 1st, which is in 13 days from now. We're really excited to sort of like see you all there. And we really see this at the beginning of like a long road. So although it feels like you might be late, or that like the pregame spots are filling up, I think we're just really at the beginning of the ducky journey. So really happy that you're all here, and I'm really excited for what's to come.
Wonderful. And we all know that the cool ducks show up fashionably late, so it makes sense for them not to be at the pregame yet anyway. And
Exactly.
yeah, well, we thank you so much for your time. I know you're super busy, so you got to jump, but we really appreciate you sharing more information on the ducks. Super excited to party with everybody, and thank you all for coming to listen in. If you're new to Metaverse HQ, we are a exclusive token gated alpha NFT community. Wow, that was a lot of buzzwords there, but we have been incorporated since late July. We're focused on growing the space, educating everyone from the newest of new to the most experienced degenerates, and we're focused on mainly trading and collecting NFTs. And yeah, we've got a whole lot in store. If you're interested in learning more about us, check out our website. We have that pinned up there. Give us a follow on Twitter, join our Discord. Feel free to DM Mitch, Meg, or I if you have any questions, or the main account, of course. And yeah, have a wonderful Wednesday. I believe that's the day. And yeah, excited to see you all in the metaverse, and may your mints be merry. Is there anything you'd like to add, Mitch?
No, nothing much other than it's been a pleasure. I'm wishing this in the affirmations again. I want a RuneScape hat, Metaverse HQ related duck party trait in the near future. And yeah, I'm
Let's
excited
do
for
it.
your mint. Thank you so much. And again, for those tuning in, Rubber Duck Bath Party coming to you March 1st. And we will keep y'all updated in the loop in Metaverse HQ. If you have won the pregame spot. So thank you again, Jashay, for extending the pregame spots for our community. Love to see it, and yeah, stay tuned for more. Thank you for tuning in, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
All right, cheers.
Can't wait for the MVHQ party.
Bro, that's what I'm